It's the Behind the Shade show.
Did you experience grief identity loss when your partner passed away?
Definitely. And that's one of the things that's really interesting about grief is that it doesn't just have to be loss of a loved one. It can be that loss of identity. And so whether you're changing careers or divorcing or you're an empty nester, whatever it might be. So for me, yes, I was a wife and after two really toxic marriages and like my whole life of a series of toxic relationships, I was finally in a relationship where I felt fully loved and supported. And so for me, being in that kind of relationship was a new identity for myself for the 8 years that I was with my husband. So when he passed, number one, I had to make sure I didn't take it personal, that it wasn't my fault. There wasn't anything different that I could have done. And and then I had to rediscover, okay, well, who am I now as this person that no longer is physically, yes, married to my husband Skip? What do I want to do in my life? Who am I here to be? Do I still want to even do the same things that I was doing? And so it was really taking a real deep look at all aspects of my life to figure out, okay, what's working for me, what's not working for me. And I was able to really transform into who I am showing up now over 2 years later.
What advice would you want to give to someone, let's say men and women, because sometimes advice can be different, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you want to give to, let's say, men or women, if it is different, who are in the earlier stages of losing their partner, let's say 12 months or less?
Okay, so number one, if you're in that phase, like my heart is fully with you. And what, what they want us to do is to keep living. And one of the best things that my husband came through from the other side within a week of his passing, what he said to me very clearly was, it's okay to be happy sooner than later. Like time doesn't exist on the other side. And we feel and society puts this on us that we are supposed to grieve and go through the grief process in a certain way and a certain amount of time, and people put these like expectations onto us, and you get to grieve in whatever way is right for you. If it is a long process, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a really short process, there's nothing wrong with that either. And for me, and this would go for men and women, it's just like find something each day that keeps you moving forward. Just one little baby step, something that will raise your vibration just a little bit, that might bring a little bit of joy to your life, whether it's a phone call with a loved one or taking yourself out into nature. For me, the beach is my happy place. So I would go daily to the beach just to ground that energy, and that would help regulate my nervous system. And so self-care is really, really important, and we have total control over that.
I remember, Lisa, in my earlier days when I first interviewed, you don't even want to watch those interviews. They're so horrendous. I'm even embarrassed to bring them up. Jesus help me. But during those days, I remember I interviewed someone who had suicidal ideations. And what he shared is that he saw his father commit suicide as a child, and it traumatized him because he's the one that found
Mm,
his father. When he was going through his situation as an adult, he attempted suicide the same way his dad did.
mm,
What saved him is that his son walked in, and then he started to remember the impact of it on him. And he said that I didn't want to put my son through that because I saw that. And I share that because sometimes there's a sense of guilt or shame with some people when someone close to them has committed suicide, because to a lot of people it's a selfish act. To a lot of people, they feel robbed of the opportunity to maybe intervene or to say something to that person. I don't know if you've gone through this, but if you have, or if you've seen other people go through it, was there any experience of shame and guilt when you decided to open up yourself to the world again after you've experienced this?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So for me, I knew that I didn't cause it. But what's really interesting is that the week before he did it, we were going through a rough patch in our relationship. And I'm really vulnerable about this in my book that I wrote about this because I wanted, like, it was very cathartic for me to write out, okay, so yes, we had a great relationship and it wasn't perfect. And so we were going through this rough patch and we were starting to come out of it. But I was leading a retreat. I was actually in the middle of leading a retreat when he did it. And so I wasn't even staying at the house. I had rented condos in our neighborhood that me and the retreat participants were at. And he just, even maybe an hour or 2 hours before he did kill himself, he was texting me that he wanted to come to the condo that night and see me. And he was like, I'm so sorry, we've been through this time and I want to come see you. And then after the fact, then I was researching, I was like playing detective, trying to figure out what was going on in his mind leading up to this. He had called all his friends and was texting them to make plans for the weekend, pickleball, running, playing golf. He had called our handyman friend to come help him change out the ceiling fans that I needed changed out. He had called a plumber for our irrigation problems. All of this in the time, like a few hours before he actually did it. So it wasn't like he was necessarily fully planning it. So it's really weird. He has a twin brother, and he had called his twin brother, who he had to leave a voicemail for. His brother didn't get it till the following day, and his brother just I think really carries survivor's guilt, like because he didn't call him back. And some of his friends are still either really angry or feel like there's something different they could have done. And there's nothing different that could have been done in this situation. So for me, I've had to just reconcile, like, just because we were going through a challenging time, that didn't cause this. There were so many factors that created the perfect storm of the mindset that would uh, let him move through that. The other thing, though, is I am the one who found him. So he did shoot himself. And I'm just glad it was me and not my daughter, because I could handle it more emotionally, in a mature way than my daughter would have been able to, because she's a teen and she already had enough trauma in her life. So it's just, yeah, so for me, I have worked through there were elements, the ego gets in the way and wants to create stories. So there were moments of like, okay, did I, like, really, could I have done something different? And what I know is that we all have different exit points in our life, and he fortunately has come through the other side many, many times to share there's nothing that anyone could have done differently, nothing at all. And so whoever might need to hear that, there's nothing that you could have done differently.